Hello everyone and welcome to Club Reaction to Celtic 3, Rangers 0 here on Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. I'm your host Scott Carney and joining me for this rather fun episode is Ryan Haymarsh. Ryan, mate, a stupid question, but how you doing?
Absolutely shite.
Oh, God, mate. Yeah, look, I'm not even going to try and give the team any sort of justification and try and break the game down. That's not going to happen tonight. We are just going to bring you our initial reaction to this. This will be a much shorter pod than usual. Gio got it wrong tonight, and that's me summing up this podcast in one statement. I'm not saying in particular it was the team that he got wrong, but the tactics he decided to do tonight didn't work. It was a mess really from the absolute start. Ryan, the team tonight was no real shock. I don't think. Obviously, you had said about you're putting your bets on it and starting, but Kamar Roof started. Apart from that, it was the team we all pretty much expected. So, was there a great shock to you, or were you more than happy to see the lineup the way it was?
When the lineup was, I was pretty much delighted with because I think that was our strongest team, and probably not what people want to hear just now, but I think that was our strongest team that we could have put out tonight. With what's available to Gio, minus maybe Ramsey if Ramsey was fit, but in terms of players who were fit, I think that's the strongest team we could have put out tonight, and that's one of the most disappointing aspects of tonight. But yeah, Roof was the one I thought he would play it, and not that I wanted it to play. I just thought he was going to play it because he'd played the past two games. So yeah, I was pleased to see Roof in the starting lineup, and I was pleased to see Arfield and Kamara in midfield, and I was pleased with the defence. So yeah, in terms of the lineup, Scott, I was happy with it. I think that's where the happiness ended tonight.
Yes, mate. Look, a lot of people are going to disagree with what I'm going to have to say on this podcast. I don't think there's really any great doubt in that, and it's going to hurt a lot of people. But I'm going to give somebody from the other side of the city a bit of credit. In terms of the way the game went, Ange Postecoglou got it correct. He got his game tactics right. He read what Rangers were going to do, and he was spot on. There is not really any great doubt about that. If you disagree with that, I'm not sure you were watching the same game as I was. And I don't really like to be this controversial on this podcast, but this one tonight was a bit of an eye-opening to me. I think it's quite easy to just look at the stats that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has put in since taking over as Rangers manager. I don't particularly disagree with the team. We'll come on to the second half, mate, where things changed. There's a number of things that could have happened in the second half where the game did change. But my biggest frustration to take from that first half, and I'm not going to break down every single goal, we'll maybe talk about individual players, but my biggest frustration in that first half is the way the game happened at the start. I think Rangers tried to weather the storm because they knew what Celtic were going to do. In my personal opinion, that's not the worst thing to try and do. But when you concede a goal and you continue to do the same thing that's not working, I can't cope with that. Rangers did not adapt to anything at all, and too many players had tonight.
Oh, too many players had an understatement, Carney. We knew how they would. I think it was Alan that said it. We knew they would come out the blocks flying. They're a hungry team. They've been desperate for this game with the fans inside. Obviously, we had no fans either. Not that would made much difference, but we knew they were going to come flying out the blocks. Had numerous conversations with people saying we need to keep the score level in the first 5-10 minutes just to quieten that crowd down because the place will be bouncing. They've not had an Old Firm game for ages. So we knew the place would be bouncing. God, we played into their hands. The players' application, the application or attitude was so wrong. I think it was like the first couple of minutes, the ball fell over the far side from the camera view. And I think it was Kamara and Aribo maybe, and both of them kind of shut out the challenge. And in an Old Firm game, that sets the tone straight away. If you shut out the first tackle or if you make the first tackle, it sets the tone we've seen it so many times in Old Firm games, and the crowd, Celtic come away with the ball, and the crowd just, it's electric round about the stadium. And the players feed off that. They know that they're there for the taking. If they're not going in with the right attitude the first couple of minutes, then the ball's there to be won and the game's there to be won. And yes, do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Gerrard's first game at Ibrox, first Old Firm game at Ibrox. I think it was Jack that scored. We were relentless, pressing the ball, hungry, just creating chance after chance and basically hammering them. And that's exactly what happened to us tonight. We come up against a hungry animal.
We did, mate. Yes, we did. And as I say, it's not often I will give Celtic credit, or maybe not Celtic, just and Postecoglou, the way they had his players lined up and fired up. It caused us real problems. The way that their fullbacks were coming forward, we couldn't cope with it. It was disrupting our shape. We were getting left isolated on the wings far too many times. It wasn't helped for the fact that Borna Barisic put in his worst performance in a 45 minutes that I've seen Borna Barisic do. He was awful, and James Tavernier was also awful. But if I'm going to stick on the fullbacks, I don't think Tav made a pass that entire match. He was honestly shocking, and he's not even the worst that I'm going to come on to. In terms of the second goal, mate, when it happened, it was they tried that move about 4 or 5 times before it happened, and we continuously get dragged into it. Bassey was all over the place. Kent was nowhere near his man. Kamara standing watching the ball. Aribo's nowhere near his man as well. It's a good finish from a lad. I'm not going to say it's not. It really is a good finish. And they make it 2-0, and the third goal was just a fucking calamity, man. Barisic doesn't once look at his man running behind him. It's just a shocker. It really is an absolute shocker. And the only thing I thought at the end of the half, mate, is that the criticism that came of Alan McGregor was unjustified, because he kept that scoreline. You can't even call it respectable 3-0 at half time, but he stopped it from being a fucking cricket score.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would have been thinking that during the game, people that have maybe been over the top with their criticism. Obviously, I backed him on the last podcast, and I said I didn't like some of the comments, some of the criticism he was getting. I totally understand the frustration from the fans. I do. Sometimes it's over the top. It is, and we'll hear it in the pod or the comments tonight, and people get slaughtered and sell this guy, sell that guy. Alan McGregor's a legend with us, and he didn't deserve that. So he played his part tonight. He did what he had to do. I don't think he would have given him a chance with any of the goals. But yeah, Alan McGregor showed why he's our number one.
Yes, and as I say, I'm not trying to sit here making excuses for it, because there isn't really an excuse for it. We were outdone by a team that wanted it more than we did. There are too many players in that team that just didn't do it for me tonight, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone on the one in thinking that. Obviously, half time we make the changes, mate. Ryan Jack comes on, Sakala comes on for Diallo, who was missing in action the entire first half. And again, maybe that's a bit too harsh on him, but he didn't deal with the occasion, didn't deal with his man, and couldn't get himself involved in the game. And Barisic come off for Balogun. Balogun come on and play centre half, and Bassey moved to left back. I think that's where my criticism got even worse of Van Bronckhorst, mate, because if Balogun was fit, why did you not play him? And if Ryan Jack is fit enough, he does not get dropped out of that team now. Now, I know in the second half, Celtic had the game won. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the game was still there to be won for Rangers, because it wasn't. The game was over. Celtic had secured their win in the first half, and all they did was burst their gut for 45 minutes. And in the second half, mate, they looked tired. Celtic didn't look the same team they were in the first, whether it was a choice, whether it was just physicality, I'm not sure. I'm not here to pass judgment on that, because they done enough in the first half, so it's really irrelevant what their decision was at that point. But the composure that Ryan Jack showed, even in tight moments, is everything that we've been missing to hold that kind of holding midfield role down. And that's before I get to arguably our best player of the season. Tonight he was completely anonymous, Joe Aribo. Ali will probably not like me getting stuck into him, but he was almost worse than a man down tonight, Joe Aribo. I know I've went off on all sorts of tangent there, Ryan, but can you can you disagree with anything that I've just said?
Right, where did we start there?
I know, my God Almighty, that was horrible. That's because everything's just coming back to me. You just think you're thinking yourself through the game, and you're going, "Oh, that was poor, and that was poor, that was poor."
Listen,
but
see the second half they burned out or sat back, whatever it was. The game was won. It was over.
Yeah.
Unless we scored an early goal and there was some sort of miraculous comeback, then nah, I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it with the Rangers players' attitude. And we've already seen this team down 3-0, and we know what we've said in the dressing room at half time that the game was over, so I wasn't expecting it. And that's poor to say, but I wasn't. Jack was a breath of fresh air when he came on. The player that we know he is. Like I said, what I've heard is it's his recovery. I think everything's fine when he's on the pitch. It's his recovery after a game that they're worried about. But by God, he just looked like he looked on. Was it Saturday? Come on. Was it Saturday? No, it was a home game, the last home game we played. His touch is just there. He looks as if he's never been out of the team.
Yeah.
And he had that shot. He was moving the ball quickly and passing the ball forward. He was doing that, playing it in the channel. Just everything you want to see for your centre midfield, and he showed any centre midfield in that Rangers team how to play and how to play in an Old Firm game. And yes, Celtic had the game won and had burned out, but he still did his job, and he goes straight into the team on Sunday for me. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Where did we go? Where did we go after Jack Carver?
Joe, I think Joe Aribo, maybe.
Yeah, I wanted my say on him as well. I thought Joe Aribo was. Let me choose my words carefully here. Very disappointing. I thought he was very disappointing tonight because I thought when we were breaking forward, he was dropping back and covering for, say, if it was Bassey or Borna, he was dropping in and covering for them. I don't want to see you covering for them when we're 3-0 down to Celtic. I want to see you, our most creative player, up the pitch and getting involved and putting your foot in. I thought he was really disappointing tonight, Joe Aribo, but plenty of credit in the bank. He's been outstanding this season, but we were excited to see him coming back for the Old Firm game, and he did not turn up.
He did not turn up. No, he certainly did not. He was very frustrating tonight. Probably none more so than maybe James Tavernier. And I hate doing this to Tav because I like Tavernier. I'm not one of these people that screams the criticism to Tavernier, but he was so poor in every part of his game tonight. He struggled to read what Jota was going to do. He struggled to stop crosses. He struggled to pass the ball. He struggled to control the game the way that you would expect your captain to do. And as a criticism, and I'm maybe being a wee bit harsh, and I don't know. I'd say I don't know whether the effects of the first half just kind of obviously shell-shocked the whole team. I said before we started recording, mate, I was shell-shocked when we signed Aaron Ramsey. I was fucking shell-shocked when it went 3-0. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. Just one of those games, and I can't criticise decisions. I can't criticise anything that Celtic done. They got it correct. We didn't. They wanted it more. We didn't look like we wanted it, and that is what it is. I mean, even Kamar Roof, mate, we all wanted them to start. The way the first half went, there was no chance for him to get in the game. It was impossible for him to do anything.
No, I wouldn't criticise Roof. Like I say, I don't think anyone will avoid criticism from the Rangers fans. You know what it's like, and a lot of them deserve it. For me, Roof, I wouldn't criticise him because he had a hard role to play. It's a role that he doesn't play that lone striker for us. Alfie's the only one that plays it for us. So we always struggle when Alfie's not available. We always struggle to replace that lone striker, that man that will link up the play. Nah, Kemar Roof, I'm not going to give him pass marks, but I'm not going to criticise him either. It was just a tough night for him, and probably I would say the same for Amad Diallo. I think the occasion got the better of Amad Diallo. I think you could see he looked very, very young and very, would you say, inexperienced? Aye, he did. When he got the ball, he just wasn't playing football the way you play football. He was just, caught in the headlights a bit. But yeah, he probably just avoids any criticism with me as well.
In all honesty, mate, I think that the biggest criticism is going to come Van Bronckhorst's way. I think that's the way that most people are going to go. Look, and there is players that deserve the criticism tonight. There's no doubt about it. A lot of the players that we would expect to stand up to the plate didn't do it, and it's very disappointing. Of course, it is. And I've always said, mate, I didn't start this podcast. I always do podcast when things were good, so I know what's about to come our way, mate, and I fully expect it to come, and I'm more than happy to take this one on the chin. But it's not good enough, and we all know it's not good enough. It was the first half was pathetic. If we're going to be ruthless, it was absolutely pathetic. It was everything that we expected as fans for Celtic to do, and we didn't respond to it. And yes, players didn't show up, but the manager has to do more to change things, to shore things up. For example, if Ryan Jack's fit enough to play, you play him. If Balogun's fit enough to play, you play him. He's a centre half, and that's not any great criticism on Bassey. Bassey get pulled left, right, and centre tonight. You had no idea where he was meant to be playing. He was all over the place, but he's not a centre back. I think we are getting drawn into thinking that Bassey is a centre back. He isn't a centre back. Balogun's fit, you play him. It's really as simple as that. Look, Ryan, they go top. There's 1 point in it. The league has got a long, long way to go. The league is by no means over. However, if we're being honest, we've probably seen it coming.
What I said to you before we started recording, and I will get slaughtered for this, and I'll take it. This has been coming for months. A pumping list has been coming for months. If you think back, when Gio took this team over, we were 3-0 down to Hibs at Hampden. This team, before Gio even had spoken to any of them, were 3-0 down to Hibernian and made Martin Boyle look like Benzema. That's where we were. That's the team Gerrard left, and we can all sugarcoat what Gerrard left. That's where we were. We then went on, we had the manager bounce, a new manager bounce with Gio, and before anybody thinks I'm backing Gio, Gio got it wrong tonight, he did, and he's too defensive with us at the moment, and he needs to learn quickly that that's not how we are. Unless you've got great defenders and great fullbacks, we'll not win games if we're playing defensive like that. This will come about again. This kind of defeat will come about again if he continues to play defensive like this. But again, we were down 2-0 to Aberdeen and could have been 3-0 at home at Ibrox that night. This has been coming. And if we're all honest with ourselves, it's been coming. So there's a lot of honest conversations got to be had in that dressing room, and a lot of reflection. If players want to win this league, they need to show the stomach, show the fight, show the heart and the determination that won them a contract at Rangers, and not just go about their business.
Couldn't agree more, mate. It's very well put. I can't add much more to that. I just think it's rather disappointing when you expect your big hitters within the team, Ryan Kent, Joe Aribo, to have your captain to stand up and be counted. They weren't tonight. They really weren't, and they've let themselves down. They've let us down, as you would expect. It's a sore one to take, guys. I mean, it's not no side of the old firm wants to be 3-0 down at halftime, mate. But yeah, it's a massive reality check for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. He has to, as you say, mate, he has to have these conversations with the players now. How much do you want this, and how much do you want to be here? I would expect quite a few changes to happen. It's obviously quite knee-jerk reaction for me to have, but this is not long after the game. So yeah, it's not ideal. But I mean, the league isn't over. That's the only thing that I take from it. There is only 1 point in it just now, but this is becoming a lot closer than we all probably thought it should have been. And I'll still stand by, and I'll probably get slaughtered for this as well, off the Moon Howlers, that we've got a better squad than them. We've got better players than them. But tonight they were hungrier than us, as you said at the start, mate, and they thoroughly deserved to win. And I think that's as honest as I can be about that. We didn't deserve anything out of that game, if we're going to be brutally honest. Ryan, never easy to do this, mate. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up and get out of here?
Get out of here indeed, and I still can't believe that I've chosen to come off the drink. This is it's been a challenge tonight, I'll tell you. Rangers did not turn up today. The better team won. Kind convincingly. Could have been a lot more. I think you could scan their podcast probably for hours on end from last season, and they'd probably never admit that we were the better team. But yeah, we would admit that they were the better team tonight, the hungrier team. But like I said in the last podcast, when we were saying our goodbyes and what we thought would happen, I said if Celtic get the result tonight, don't panic, because we have recruited well, and I still believe we've recruited well. We've got a great player sitting in that stand. He will play. He will come on and play, and he will make a difference to Rangers. Alan Diallo is a good player as well. We've recruited well, and players need to have a look at themselves, and Gio needs to make changes. And I think we'll kick on. I do believe it.
I hope so, mate. I hope it's the boot up the arse that we need, and I hope Gio's brave. That's what I'm going to say. Is I hope he's brave now, because a lot of people deserve a bit of a wake up call, because tonight's not good enough. And as I said before we recorded as well, mate, this is all my fault. I'm more than happy to take this on the chin. I didn't drink the entire month of January. The first night I decided to drink, it's the Old Firm game, and we get absolutely turned over. So yes, look, it's one of the nights tonight. There's a lot to learn from tonight. I hope Gio is going to learn a lot from tonight. But we have to pick ourselves up and go again. There's only 1 point in it. There's a title race happening now, which is a shame. It shouldn't really be like that, in my personal opinion. But there is now a title race, and I can imagine this one's going to go pretty close. Ryan, a thankless task doing these pods, mate. But thank you very much for coming on.
No worries, mate. We'll dust ourselves off and get on with it. And Rangers play on Sunday. I'm looking forward to going to Ibrox. I'm looking forward to seeing Aaron Ramsey at Ibrox on Sunday. So, dust ourselves off and get 3 points on Sunday, mate.
Definitely. Something to look forward to. Aaron Ramsey and a Rangers shirt. We'll all look forward to that. So we are Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. We'll speak to you all next time. Cheers.